Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Tech-Mex podcast. I am Eric Ramirez, your host, and I've got Mando Gomez here, my co-host. Say hi, Gomez. Mando Gomez is in the house, and the crowd goes wild.
Lucha Libre here.
There you go. So we've got episode 14 here for y'all today, and we're going to cover nootropics, okay? So I know some of you have probably heard of this. Many of you have not, but we're going to dive a little bit into this today. So we've got a packed episode, so let's go ahead and get into it. Dale.
All right, man. So tell me, because that sounds like a weird terminology. What are nootropics? Yeah.
So nootropics, and in case you want to go back and Google it, this is how you spell it. It's Nootropics. So it's like nootropics. But anyway, so if you want to go Google it, that's what we're going to see. But basically, nootropics are like brain boosting tools or vitamins that some people use to help think better and stay focused. So they're not magic pills, but they can give your brain a little bit of extra help, okay?
Yeah, so basically it helps you to enhance memory and other brain functions, right?
That's what it sounds like. So there's some pretty common ones that most people are already familiar with, even though they may not know it could be considered a nootropic. What's your favorite one, Mando?
Man, coffee. Like, I think that right now it is part of almost, a lot of households. And I think there are some things that we can do there. I'll tell you something. When I was in Seattle, because I live about 3 years there in Seattle, it's very gloomy, it's very gray, it's always raining. Then you always are drinking coffee, man.
That's you. So like you see people like zombies walking around feeling down just because of the weather and the way it is.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny because you actually can tell who are the people from like tourists or people from the locals, right? Because locals, we don't even have an umbrella, and it's always raining, right? So it's like, and it's a very fine rain that you just see people and looking down, and it's like that's typical Seattle, like, Walker. It's like just rainy, like and yeah, you just need coffee. It's like, and then I start drinking more coffee from Seattle. And but let me tell you this though, their coffee, top notch, man, top notch. It's like now I just became a snob for coffee. It's like, what is this?
Coffee snob, huh? Well, what's some of the differences? Is it like the flavor or?
They take it seriously. They are like baristas, coffee baristas. It's not like Starbucks, but it's not like a Starbucks. I mean, seriously, they are excited. They really love the whole craftsmanship of coffee, from the grain, and you start talking to the person. It's just literally the coffee shops, right? Like I think that's how they should be, and like people that they just love to serve the coffee. It's like almost like when you go to a wine tasting, right, event that people really love wine, right? That similar vibe. And yeah, there are some that are excellent. I mean, and you see like in a tiny shop, they are grinding the coffee and all of that. Anyways, but going back to the nootropic, it is a great tool to be able to give you some alertness, right? And I think that sometimes maybe the trick here, in my opinion, is to stop drinking it. Maybe a couple days. I know that is hard, but then because what happens is that you're getting like numb of the effects. So then you stop drinking it for several days. Then it's basically you are cycling. Every time that you're doing these type of things, you have to cycle them, and that's what you're doing. You're trying to get again the benefits back. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And by the way, I remember my abuelita growing up, they had their Folger scan. That's how they would. So I don't know. That's what we grew up on. I don't know how that compares to your fancy Seattle coffee over there, but sometimes it gets the job done. Now we have tried this one called Bustelo recently. I think it's Cuban, right? Have you seen that one? It's like that yellow can. Okay. Yeah, a Cuban friend of ours kind of showed us to it. She does this really special drink where she kind of whips up the coffee. If you've seen Dalgona, I think they've been calling it. It's something similar to that. It's just kind of really sweet, and anyways, it's really good. And they make it in this like steel canister or something like that, and you put it on your oven and you use this thing. It's almost like a little pressurized. I'm not really sure, but I got one for Christmas, so we've used it one time. I wasn't sure if it was going to work on my on my stove because it's induction, but it does. So hey, now I know. But I haven't really gotten into too much with the specialty coffees and going to Starbucks like every day and stuff like that. But I do drink some coffee, but when I drink it, it's usually black. Like I take it just like straight up like that. Ever since I was younger, I've always kind of done it like that. Maybe that's just gives you the maximum dose like that. So
Yeah,
it's
I
just
guess,
right.
but for me, friends, they just tell me that I just like desserts because for me it's sweet. Like I don't like the bitterness. It's funny because also in beer, right? I prefer citric kind of beer instead of very bitter. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, I mean, at the end of the day, obviously, watch out the sugar, right? The sugar intake. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do put cream, and for me, the best form for me are lattes. I really enjoy lattes.
With the
The
milk.
cream, yeah, the milk, the creamy flavor with the milk, or like or like in Mexico, right? You have like a café con leche,
Hmm.
and your
Café
pan,
de olla,
man,
right?
café de
Piloncillo
olla.
in there.
That's the other one, right? Like
Uh-huh.
I don't know how they do it. I actually need to look. I think that is just cinnamon. I think that they
I
just
think
add
it's a cinnamon stick and they sweeten it, I think, with
with
piloncillo.
piloncillo. That maybe
I
the
think that's what it
piloncillo
is.
is what gives
Hmm.
the very good flavor. Maybe there's something on the because the other thing was clay. They usually have in like a clay
Oh,
pot.
like the cup, the
Not the jarrito. No, no. What I
no?
mean is like the whole pot is like is made of clay. Not sure if that has something to do with it.
Oh, okay.
Um,
My abuelita also had one of those.
mhm. I mean, every town like when you get café de olla, that's
That's
what
where
it
it
is.
comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? So, I have been a fan of coffee kind of pretty much my whole life. I would always, and it's also part of like the culture and tradition, especially in Hispanic households, right? Is you have your cafecito, you're drinking your or you're eating your pan dulce. So it's kind of, at least that's how I grew up with it. And always as a little kid, I'd be like, I want some coffee too. But as a little kid, I don't know. I don't think you're supposed to be drinking coffee, but eventually got old enough and
Yeah.
started drinking it. But now as an adult, what's really funny is I can't drink that much coffee because of caffeine. It makes me super jittery. Like it's
Mhm.
just too much. And if I have coffee like after noon, let's say,
Noon?
like I can't sleep at night
Oh
until
wow.
maybe 1 in the morning. It like keeps me up. Same thing with like if I drink a soda on like a Dr. Pepper or something like that. That's my soda of choice these days. But um I know. Don't mean to offend you, Mando. I know you're a Coke guy, but but yeah, like that'll just keep me up. So usually, if I'm doing coffee, it's going to be in the morning, just so I know it's not going to affect my sleep because that's actually one of the other things that usually you look at when you're talking about nootropics.
Yeah, for sure. I think that and you can start combining, and that's the reason why we wanted to start as well from the beginning with coffee because you can start getting more a little bit more complex or build your own stack, right? All of these are vitamins, and always you have here that some people are saying that vitamins they don't do much, but if you think about it, you're getting it in your food, and my preference is that, right? It's like if you're getting it through some of the liquids and some of the foods, even better, right? But it's very sometimes it's very hard to get those components. You have to eat a lot of the food. So you can start getting a little bit, and we'll mention some of the names like L-theanine, and
Hmm.
when you combine it, because it's usually they give you in powders or they give you in different things. If you use coffee as your base to be able to start mixing some of these things, then it allows you to have your accuracy or your focus or your alertness, and maybe remove some of the tiredness. So again, you can start building your own stack depending what do you need, right? If you are
Yeah,
basically a personality that you're on edge, maybe you should not. Maybe
that's true.
you have to reduce the coffee intake. Maybe there are other supplements that might be helpful for you.
Yeah, on that point, I know a lot of people are maybe don't realize the connection of having their kind of their daily coffee or drinking coffee throughout the day, and then they maybe always feel a little anxiety or stress. There's a lot of caffeine in your cups of coffee, so you may not even realize that you're contributing to this. Now, I do know there's some people, because I hear this all the time. Oh, when I drink coffee, it makes me sleepy. Like they have this opposite effect. So I've heard
Mhm.
that too. But if you are downing a bunch of coffee and you're feeling like anxious and anxiety, maybe that's what it is. It's just too much caffeine for your body. Now, I do know, like you did mention, the L-theanine. Some people do take that to try and level off some of that jitteriness that you
Mhm.
might get from a lot of caffeine. So it does help you, where the caffeine's going to give you that energy and pump you up to like to do things. The L-theanine is going to maybe help you focus all that energy into one thing and remove some of that jitteriness. So there's a, like you mentioned, there's ways of stacking these so that they work a little bit better.
Yeah, and we always mention, right? Full disclosures. We are not doctors. We are two random dudes in the internet.
Yeah, I know, right?
Do your own research, right? Consult your doctor, blah blah blah, right? So
Hmm.
I think that the other one that people might not realize is like I don't smoke, right? Basically, I'm not a smoker, but let's don't discard nicotine. Nicotine, you can get it from many ways. You can even have like some of the gum, like people that they're trying to literally quit basically smoking, and that one is a little bit of hit of dopamine. So if you're
Hmm.
feeling like sad or feeling down a little bit, right? Just again, you have to be careful with some of these because yeah, they can become easily an addiction because it's what if you're feeling sad and suddenly you get a hit with nicotine, maybe chewing gum or even maybe some vaping or some smoking, then guess what? Yeah, you can get hooked. So, but the whole idea is that you can use these compounds to be able to help you out and just give you maybe a very short span of what do you need, right? So, I will recommend you maybe better to chew it instead of smoking it, right? Because in that way you don't have to affect your lungs and more after 2020, we all know what happened in 2020. So you don't want
Right.
to keep affecting your lungs, right? So what do you think about that? It's a little more
Yeah.
polemical.
Personally, I don't think I've ever tried nicotine necessarily, so I'm not too sure kind of like how that what that buzz might feel like for nicotine. But obviously, I think what most people know about nicotine when it comes to like cigarettes and things like that is that yeah, it's habit forming, right? So
Yeah.
that's what keeps a lot of people hooked on cigarettes and things like that. But I think nowadays the use of cigarettes have gone down a lot, and now it's maybe more vaping and things like that. But it's the same thing. You're going to get hooked on some of those on some of those things. And I think vaping, I don't know how much research there's been done yet on the vaping to know or understand how if it does do damage to the lungs and things like that. But I don't know if you're inhaling something, it
Yeah.
I imagine that it does leave some residue or remnants in your lungs, but I'm not sure how well your body actually clears it all out and cleans it up after the fact. But something to think about. But I haven't used nicotine, but it's an option out there if you are looking for an additional thing to for your stack. And I like how you mentioned a little bit about that dopamine. That's one of the base neurotransmitters that we have, and maybe we'll touch a little bit about that later. But there's four of them,
Mhm.
and that's one of the things that you can try to increase the dopamine hit so that you can affect maybe some of the issues that you may have, like with focus or energy and things like that.
Yeah, and I think that what happens as well is that, by the way, nicotine can get to your brain in 10 seconds, like super fast, right? So you get the
Mm.
hit like very, very quickly. So it's one of those substances that it will hit to your brain. And there is only a few substances that can uh, pass the barrier in the brain.
Hmm.
And because usually there is a barrier in kind of in within the brain that doesn't allow to pass
Hmm.
different things, right? So, but also it allows you to maybe release a little bit of adrenaline. That's the reason why you are like as well part of that alertness, right? Or your flight fight response, right? Like
Yeah.
in a very mild way, right? But again, you can use this in order to maybe you're sleepy, you're trying to finish something that is very mentally exhausting, right? Like, hey, maybe that's one way for you to do it, which is kind of the enhancing, right? You're using these products to enhance, to be able to help you focus, to finish. If you are a student, right, to be able to finish for your exam, or if you are like writing a paper, right, or whatever it is, right. Once again, here is the self discipline that if you do it too often, you might actually get hooked, right? So, and like anything else, right? I mean, well, you can even die with drink too much water. Right?
That's
So,
true. There was something recently, right, on the news where a girl chugged a gallon of water. Was it just a gallon?
and it
And
was a little
like
more,
she didn't make
but
it.
yeah, and that one it was because of the electrolytes. So if you are
Hmm.
drinking a lot of water, make sure that you are as well are ingesting electrolytes, because at the end of the day, you have to have the regulate your body intakes, and yeah, that's
Yeah,
what happened.
you don't want to dilute all the salts basically that you have in your body, and if you drink
Yeah.
too much in too little time, it's gonna get dropped down to too low of a level, and it's not gonna be a good situation. So be careful what you're doing out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the other ones that I have tried and I like them is mushrooms, and I'm not talking about those magic ones.
I like eating mushrooms.
But well, that's the OG of nootropics, right? But let's don't talk about those here.
Oh, I was talking about cooking mushrooms. You know.
Yeah, actually, there's and the lion's mane is one mushroom that you can cook, and you
Oh,
can
really?
consume
Okay.
in many different ways, and actually has a texture like almost like a, maybe I don't want to say fish, but between fish and maybe lobster, right? Something like that. It's hard to
Mm.
describe. But I recommend people to take a look on a picture of the how it looks. It looks like a lion's mane. Literally, that's the reason why. Like a
Yeah.
lion. Yeah, yeah. So that's the reason why they name it that way. But that one though, I recommended to my mom a few months back. I have noticed that my mom started to maybe lose some. Uh, it's this age obviously, but if whatever you can do, right, to postpone some of these effects, and also has shown that uh, to help with Alzheimer's, right? So,
Mm.
and Alzheimer's is usually a combination of as well exercise. So if you are using basically lion's mane and some other products to keep you alert, and on top of that you're working out, that's kind of the one of the best recipes. And yeah, I gave my mom some uh, advice on how to stack it. And basically you can just Google it, right? How to do it. And again, you can even get it on powder and you can mix it with your coffee. So my point here is that maybe you can try to add to your own routine. Uh, just maybe add some of these ingredients, because sometimes it's harder to change your patterns.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, lion's mane, if you haven't seen it, you might get a little freaked out of how it looks because it looks a little weird. It's kind of, from what I've seen, it's like a white, right? It's kind of
Mhm.
like a white mushroom. And yes, it does look like tentacles or something like that. But
There,
I don't
it's like
know. But yeah, I know there are some products out there. And like Mondo was saying, yeah, maybe you can try to add it to your coffee if that's maybe one of your base nootropics or base supplements or base things that you use. Try adding it to that. So I know there's some companies out there like Bulletproof Coffee, things like that. Bulletproof has things like MCT oil,
Mhm.
but I'm sure they have other things that you can add on there. Have you heard of any of these, Mondo?
Yeah, yeah, and that's and just keep talking about coffee, right? Because the other thing is you can, if let's say that you don't want to add any sugar, what you can do is to add some butter, and that's another recipe for the literally for the bulletproof coffee, right? Which is literally you add butter, because butter will help you to. There are some studies on fat, right? That it allows you to have a good cardiovascular and all of that just by increasing a little bit of fat. So when you're combining the coffee and I guess butter, it helps you. But again, there are many ways to do it, and yeah, the other one is with powder, like I said, because some of these ingredients, and there is a company though, we are not sponsored by that company or by any means, but Mud Water, if you guys want us to sponsor you
Mud
guys.
water? I thought you said Budweiser. I was like,
No, no.
Budweiser, king of beers. No.
If they want to promote us, sure.
Oh, you said mud water?
Mud
Okay.
Water, yeah, it's like and it's funny name, right? Because it's brownish, so that's what.
Hey, so it's coffee, right? So
Yeah, but I think that one looks more like mud.
that's funny.
And they have a bunch of different mushrooms, and one of the ingredients is lion's mane.
Okay. Well, that sounds pretty good. Well, speaking of brown stuff, there's also cacao, right? I think right, the cacao bean. I think that is one of those superfoods.
For sure, yeah, and it's one of those things that Mexico exported to the world, right? So, did you knew that the Mayans have a deity that they actually worship cacao?
Ah,
And
cool.
actually, yeah, the name of the god, it was like Kaw, and that's hence cacao, right? So and also the Aztecs. The Aztecs, it was part of their diet. So that's the reason why it's kind of the foods of the gods.
I like it.
Yeah, and I think that for cacao is sometimes it's hard to just eat it raw, right? Like, I mean, you can grind it and all of that, but maybe the closest one maybe will be dark chocolate, and maybe a 70%. You'll find a lot of them. Right now, it's like super healthy, and you'll find it in all of the hippie shops.
Yeah, I tried. I bought this bag thinking I was buying cacao powder because usually what we do is we do a green smoothie in the mornings with basically like a pitcher full of greens and some omega-3s like with flaxseed or chia seed and maybe a little bit of fruit, but then we add some cacao in there. Well, I accidentally bought cacao nibs, which is like little chunks of cacao instead of cacao powder. Oh man, that was so hard. Like you end up chewing your smoothie. It's like that's not what I was looking for. And I had a Vitamix. It was still like a little chunky, so
it's like
did not like that.
Like a cacao tapioca.
Yeah, no, it was hard. It's like what is that? But that's a good way of getting it into your diet. Is like you mentioned, you can put in your coffee, or you can even put in your smoothies, things like that. So it's a good one.
Yeah. So yeah, there are different ways. I think that also you are getting the antioxidants, right? Which are like very, very important for blood flow and lower your pressure. I think that Hispanics, that was an interesting thing when I was I was working for the government in the Secretary of Health many almost like many lives ago. And one of the couple of the top causes of death in Mexico, it was number one, diabetes, and number two, heart problems, cardiovascular problems. So we need to watch, I guess, in our DNA, all of us, for that, right? And antioxidants is basically one of the things that we have to get. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's very true. I think those are some of the top killers, not just for Latinos, but in general. But I think we do have some higher incident rates for Latinos. But I was looking at TikTok where I get all my scientific information.
Obviously,
and there was a researcher that was talking about how some of the research that they've done is cacao actually helps with stem cell generation, which some of the newer things that are out there. So stem cells are kind of the base pieces of cells that your body uses to create other cells. So if cacao is able to boost the production of stem cells in your body, that means your body is better able to do its repair functions within your body for wherever it is that you're having issues. So, you know what? I think that's a pretty good sign for cacao. It's especially as you get older, there's things that start breaking down in terms of cells within your body. So, the better tools you can give your body to keep to do repairs and things like that, the longer you're going to have a healthier life. So again, Cacao, another one of those nootropics that will help you have kind of a longer, healthier life.
So let me understand this. If I chop my arm, can I regrow it with cacao?
How much cacao do you need to regrow an arm?
Yes.
Let's put that one out on TikTok. See what kind of responses we get.
It will go viral if I chop my arm in TikTok.
Yeah, they might send you to facility also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we need to explain what are antioxidants and what they are important. So do you want to give it a try?
Oh yeah. So I mean, antioxidants in your whenever you're eating like things like fruits and things like that, there's especially like the
The red
brightly
ones.
colored fruits, like the red ones, like even blueberries, things like that. There's things like flavonols and polyphenols that are in the fruit that are able to go into your body and really attack any of the free radicals and basically things that might cause inflammation within your body. So these antioxidants go out there and just help you out to be able to get rid of these things that are floating around in your blood. So in general, these antioxidants, they'll do things like be able to improve your blood flow and lower blood pressure and things like that. And, it gives you the good cholesterol versus the bad cholesterol. It helps with that as well. And again, it reduces the heart disease risk and things like that we're trying to avoid. So antioxidants in general are going to be a good thing. There's lots of ways and places that you can get antioxidants. But in general, it's kind of one of those blanket things that you want to be able to get more antioxidants into your body in order to, remove them from your system, remove them from your blood so that it's not causing issues kind of systemically and all the time. Again, reducing inflammation with the body is going to be one of the things that you can do to improve your health in general, because inflammation is kind of one of the root causes for a lot of different disease.
Yeah, I think that's key. Yeah, a lot of the things it starts with inflammation, so you have to watch it out. And yeah, for me, it's like when I'm getting older, I'm paying way more attention of what I'm actually eating, right? So spend even the extra little money, right, on some of the organic now, is they call it organic. But no wonder why sometimes the boomers they are living longer, because I mean they didn't have all of these like preservatives and shit, right, and hormones in the food, right? And I think that maybe now we have to spend a little more the extra money to buy the complete food, right? Like Whole Foods has almost like Whole Food.
Yeah, and something that you said kind of just reminded me, like, yes, we're getting older, so like these are some of the things that we're starting to look at and things like that. But prevention, it's a lot easier to prevent something than to try and treat it after the fact. So like, we're trying to do this. We're we're more midlife, but if you start doing some of these things and developing really good habits as a younger person, it's going to be that much easier as you get older, and you're going to have to do less of these things and maybe more maintenance type items instead of trying to go out and actively fix issues that you've developed over the years. And we've touched a little bit about this, like when we're talking about like diets and things like that. And, a lot of times if you have these metabolic type diseases, you're going to see them when you start getting a little bit older, maybe like in your 40s, but you started all those bad habits maybe when you're in like your 20s. So if you could start altering things when you're a little bit younger, so it makes it a little bit easier on you when you're older, I mean that's really one of the biggest keys. So prevention is a big deal here.
Yeah, and I think that I hear often people, well, anyways, I'm gonna die. Sure, we all are going there, right? Some earlier than others, but I think that is also it goes into your self discipline to be able to form good habits, and that will span across the different things, right? In your relationships, in your health, and in your money. So all of this self discipline is very important, right? Obviously, we like to eat a lot of good food, right, or sweet food, right? So, but if you are able to learn to have that self discipline, yeah, I like that. The other thing is right now that you were saying that, my mom, she has been a runner for all her life, and now that she's uh, way older, she's still doing it. So
Mhm.
you can see that that you just formed the habit that almost she gets grumpy when she is not running.
It's also the dopamine hit, right? When they
Which
call it the runner's high.
that's right. Which is even better, that you are actually high on your own juices, right? Like your own
Hmm.
dopamine effect. So I think that that's a great habit, right? To be able to form in as something that it will help you to be healthy, right? So there are one way is like that, right? Another one is maybe writing. People get that hit as well when they are focusing for 20
Hmm.
minutes, 30 minutes on journaling. So there are ways that you can use your own chemistry to get the hit on your own flavor. You mentioned it. You wanted to mention the different components on the brain, right? You mentioned
Oh,
we mentioned about dopamine. Uh-huh.
yeah. And you know what? I think maybe we can do a deep dive on the neurotransmitters, but just in general, if you're curious, like the main neurotransmitters that we're talking about is like dopamine, there's serotonin, acetylcholine, and GABA. So these are the main neurotransmitters that your brain uses, and there's a lot of information that we can get into, but maybe we'll do that in the next episode so that we can kind of get in deeper on that. But I think that's going to be really an interesting topic about, why you want these to be at good levels or optimal levels within your body, and what are some of the clues that you might have if you that they might be low, and maybe some things that you can do to improve them, maybe with some nootropics or supplements.
Yeah. The
One
last
of the
one though,
things.
the
Uh-huh.
last one, it sounded like my kids. They watch this show Yo Gabba Gabba,
It's just like that.
just like that, I guess. Go ahead. I interrupted.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, well, you touched on a couple things there here at the end, kind of with your mom, right?
Mhm.
You talked about exercise, but there's also sleep, and we kind of mentioned that earlier. These are also kind of good, easy things that you have control of that you can do. And a lot of times, people will say the best things that you can do for your body, on top of any supplement or anything that you actually take or consume, is really just exercise and sleep, and really on top of that, really diet. But we've covered diet before, and maybe some of the things that you should be doing at the very least, like multivitamins and things like that. But exercise and sleep make a pretty big impact on your overall health as well.
Yeah, I
What do you
mean,
think about that, Mando?
man, it's just so important. It's like people don't realize, like, dude, spend the $50, $100 extra for that damn pillow, right? Like, just get a good pillow. I mean, some people, they have different preferences, right? They want to do a firm, they want to do soft, they want to do like a rock. No, no judgment here, right? Just get a pillow that works for you, and the same with the bed, right? It's just, if you are waking up too much in the middle of the night, figure out why, right? Go to the doctor. Maybe you have a sleep apnea, right? Or maybe you have something that is not helping you, or maybe you are too cold or too warm. Temperature is also fundamental to do that, and there are things that you can also do before you go to bed. Literally, your room has to be dark, right? So have a good blinds or shades or a way for you to be able to close it. And lately, the problem has been with the lights for LEDs, that some of the blue lights or red lights, whatever, just to help you out to completely don't see any lights, because also there is something on. We used to be in caves, right? So they used to be dark. So
uh,
so so.
Speaking of caves, did you see the Nazca Peruvian things that Mexico put out there? The
Not yet.
aliens?
The aliens, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. They said they found them in caves in Peru.
Mm.
And I guess in
And
Mexico.
why the
Anyways, we're
Mexicans? It was
digressing, but
yeah, but why the
what's that?
Mexicans? No, explain me why the Mexicans found them in Peru.
So I don't know. There's a lot of controversy on these things,
Sure.
obviously, but there was some, I guess someone that's not so trustworthy actually went and got them. I think they did some kind of deal to bring him to Mexico from Peru. Peruvian government, I think, got mad. Like, how did y'all get our aliens or aliens? I think they were saying they're debunked, but I don't know. These tests that they're doing, they're supposed to be doing a lot of through lots of national laboratories across the U.S. They're doing tests on these things to verify, yes, they actually are 1,000-year-olds. They're not, or they have materials that aren't from the earth and things like that. But they're looking into that, and they've done like X-rays, CT scans, all kinds of stuff. And they're like, it looks like aliens, or we don't really know what they are, or whatever the case is. But anyways, that's what's been in the news that came out of Mexico. I thought that was hilarious, I think they're from Peru. Yeah, they're like little ETs. Like when I saw it, I'm like, come on, man! They just made a doll that looks like ET the movie. Like that's not real.
I think that they actually noticed that the materials, they are 1,000-year-old because they did the carbon 14, right, which is the study to identify the age. But some, they are saying that they were put together by different like animal bones, and they think that the one of the brain or the head is of a llama. So and some of the things that they did in order to kind of to put like some sort of a skin. But I mean, even for that, 1,000 years, and they to do all of that.
They do that, yeah.
Yeah. So, but who knows? We'll
Supposedly
see.
there were a lot of them. There were like up to 20 of them or something like that. It wasn't just the 2 or something that they put out there. So it really interesting. Anyways, I think there's more to come on that. That drama's kind of unfolding right now in the news. So maybe we'll talk about it in one of the next episodes. But what? Those aliens got a lot of good sleep because they've been in that cave for about 1,000 years. So that's like you mentioned. That's some of the basic things that we can do is really, get you a good temperature. Usually your body falls asleep a little bit better when it's a little bit cooler. It's complete in darkness. So those are easy things that you can do. Like you said, get a good pillow, get a good mattress. Those are good investments for you to have to help you get that good sleep. If you get bad sleep at night, there's no supplement that you can take to improve how you feel the next day. So again, do that. And if you feel like really tired and you notice that you're snoring, like Mando said, it could be like sleep apnea and you don't even realize it. I know I went through a little bit of that as well. And, I got that addressed, and it's like night and day. You're like a completely different person. You don't realize like all that sleep deprivation changes your mood, gives you less energy. It's just a really bad thing to have. So it's really important to get good sleep.
I mean, it's like somebody choking you in the middle of the night and you're not even knowing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like somebody's putting a bag on there.
It's not the alien. You just can't breathe.
Yeah. I think that, and I have heard some people, I haven't done it myself, but I hear people, they're using CBD, right? You see a lot of shops for CBD. So they're using some CBD to be able to calm them down, to be able to even sleep as well. They have some mixtures there, in order to do it, and they have in drops, so they can just put them on drops for your mouth, or you can even get the gummies for melatonin. Those are very popular too, right? I think that you just need to find a way to enhance it, right? To maybe by default you might not be able, and then you have to use these type of things to help you out.
Well, even better, I mean, exercise. Like, you need exercise, and it does so many things good for your body. Exercise helps you sleep better too. Like, if you're not doing any exercise and you're having trouble falling asleep and things like that, try doing some exercise. That'll wear your body down, or like, in a good way. And so that your body gets tired enough to be able to go to sleep or fall asleep. I think that's one of the things. And if you're also still on that same thread, having trouble falling asleep, but you drink like 10 cups of coffee in a day, you know what? Maybe back off some of that coffee so you're getting less caffeine. Or maybe, don't, like I do, don't have coffee after 12 p.m. in the afternoon, so that it doesn't affect your sleep. There's things like that sometimes people don't make the connection, right? Like, you're going fast, whatever your normal day, you're doing your normal things, and you don't realize, like, hey, that 6 p.m. coffee might be keeping you from going to sleep. And then, it becomes a cycle. You don't get good sleep. You don't feel good the next day. You're groggy. You drink more coffee. You have to take coffee throughout the next day, and it just builds on top of each other, and it becomes a cycle. So sometimes it's like, nip it in the bud, try to get some exercise. You end up getting good sleep. You wake up refreshed the next day. You don't need as much coffee, or maybe you just do coffee in the morning and you don't need it the rest of the day. And then, you kind of fix that cycle. So again, it all feeds into each other, and you got to be aware of those things.
The other thing that you're burning is some of the hormones that when we are releasing on working out, because if you are stressed or anxious, when you're working out, you allow it to clear it, to burn it, right? So that's another way to do it, right? If you're feeling that anxiousness, maybe take a 20-minute run, or if you cannot run, just do some cardio, maybe some biking or whatever you can find. But yeah, exercising, trust me, if I will not exercise, that would be awesome, but so many benefits of doing it. The other thing that we didn't touch base is some of the very simple supplements is like turmeric or cinnamon. Dude, those compounds, they are great. Try to sprinkle cinnamon as well if it has many antioxidants, right? And it tastes good. It's like it's one of those things that it makes a difference. So maybe you can make your own kind of tea, right? Find the mixtures of different plants, and maybe you don't need to add sugar. Maybe before even bed, right? In order to relax you, kind of be part of your winding down routine. And again, it's just find out what works for you.
Yeah, definitely. Like turmeric, you can add it into your foods also. You can add it into a smoothie. I don't think it has super strong flavor, so maybe like your tea. I drink turmeric tea. I also drink cinnamon tea. Sometimes I'll have cinnamon in my coffee as well. So there's lots of different ways to incorporate these just into everyday life. And it's just, if it just becomes one of those normal habits, it's an easy way that you're going to make sure you get all of these extra compounds that are found in these that are going to help you keep you healthy, in terms of like antioxidants and lowering inflammation and all of that.
Yeah, and again, we have been just mentioning things that they are like natural, and then you can find them in any convenience store. But if you want something that is prescribed, also modafinil is actually a medicine that is been around for a while, right? And some people have taken it for many years for nootropics purposes. And basically for that one, if you're in US, you need a prescription, and it treats some different things, right? But it is proven to be an enhancer of cognitive. So another one is omega-3. Omega-3 is a fatty acid, right? That is kind of essential as well. You can find it anywhere, and as well, it helps you to kind of it's kind of the food for your brain. In order, like, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's very important. Omega-3s, it's something that you should be taking like just kind of on a daily basis. There's lots of different formulations you can get. If you're like a vegan or something like that, you can get some that are algae based, so they're vegetarian capsules basically. Usually omega-3s though is like when they say you need to be eating more fatty fish like salmon, that's what's in there, is those omega-3s, and that's what you're trying to get. Usually the omega-3s are fish based, I think, that you might find them, but that's super important to take for your brain. It really impacts a lot of different things, for cognitive function and keeping your the brain
Your
real
noodle.
healthy. So
Your noodle.
the noodle. Yeah.
There are so many. I mean, we are not going to cover all of them. If you want more information, just go to the Reddit. There is a Reddit subreddit, Nootropics, and you'll find a lot of information there. We just wanted you to be aware what is the word, even how to search it, right? So in that way, you can get into the rabbit hole of making your own stack that works for you.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe we can include some of these on our show notes so that if they do want to go in and search some of these, they can have a list that they can go look at. But we will come back to at least talk about the nootropics maybe in this next episode, so that not nootropics, but the maybe I do need nootropics, but some of our neurotransmitters, that we mentioned earlier, and so you can become a little bit more familiar with them and kind of how they really govern a lot of how your body works on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Before we close out, though, I want to tell you this story very quickly. A person last week, this is a client of mine for many years, and he's like, "Hey, I want to ask you something." Yeah, sure. But the guy was like kind of serious, like, "Yeah, yeah." And I said, "Yeah, sure, go for it." He's like, "I'm a little bit envious." And I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, like you look every year you look younger. Yeah, you have your gray hair, but you just are glowing." Like, and this is a dude, right? And it's also an old dude. And I say, "Well, what do you mean?" It's like, "Well, what do you do? What are you eating, or what are you truly doing, right?" Like, and I said, "Dude, you just eat well, right? Basically, what we just went through this, right? Just try to
Mhm.
eat well, try to have the supplements." And I just told him in Spanish, "Come frutas y verduras," right? Which is like veggies and fruits,
Uh-huh.
and exercise, right? And that's it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And try to play, enjoy life. So I think that's what the whole point is: eat healthy and enjoy life.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So that's a good message for us to close out. So again, do what you can. You don't have to do everything all at once. All it takes is one step at a time. So keep at it, y'all. We're here to support y'all. If you like this content, just be sure to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. Share with your friends. This is going to help us keep everything going. Again, if you're interested in buying a Tesla, I got my link out there. Despite all the things that I've said about it, I think it's a pretty good vehicle. But I think we covered a lot of good things today. So just we'll leave you with that. Just want to remind you to keep going forth sin miedo.
Sin miedo. Bye.
Talk to you next time.